The Shinkansen. The original high-speed train network and arguably still the best. No trip to Japan is complete without riding this legendary bullet train. But with 5 different rail operators across 3 different islands, it can get a bit confusing, especially since everything is in Japanese. In this video, we'll witness the beauty and efficiency of these magnificent trains, cover all the practicalities, meet every different type of train on 2 of the most useful lines for a tourist, and discuss why the JR Rail Pass is now a waste of money and what you should be getting instead. Japanese trains are broadly split into 2 categories, private railways and JR companies. Private railways are just that, private companies running their own trains on their own tracks. For example, here's a train at the Osaka airport run by the Nankai Electric Railway. Obviously, no kind of JR pass will work on these trains. Then there's the JR companies. Japan National Railways was broken up and privatized in 1987, resulting in the creation of 6 different JR operators. JR Kyushu, JR Shikoku, and JR Hokkaido serve their respective islands, while the main island of Honshu is broken up into JR West, Central, and East. There's very smooth interoperability, and which JR company you're on is largely irrelevant. It only matters at stations that serve as the border between 2 companies, Hakata, Shinosaka, and Tokyo, as there will be customer service and ticketing booths for both companies in the station, and you'll want to go to the right one. What makes the Shinkansen so fast and able to boast 0 fatalities or injuries during their entire operational history is the fact that they run on dedicated tracks that never interfere with other trains or roads at all. They were built from scratch as a dedicated set of new lines. In fact, Shinkansen literally translates to new main line. This means that while sometimes Shinkansen serve the same central train station, in other instances they need to utilize a different separate Shinkansen station. You can always tell because the name of the station has Shin in front of it. For example, in Tokyo, Kyoto, and Hiroshima, they use the main station, while for Shin Yokohama, Shin Osaka, or Shin Kobe, you'll be arriving at a different Shinkansen station, and you'll need to take the metro or other transit to connect to the main train station. For example, here I am in Shin Iwakuni, but in order to get to the Kintaikyo Bridge, I need to take this dinky little guy. There's 8 current Shinkansen lines in operation, each with their own trains and tons of quirks. So here I'm just going to focus on the 2 you'll likely use the most, the Tokaido Shinkansen from Tokyo to Shin Osaka, and the Sanyo Shinkansen from Shin Osaka to Hakata Station in Fukuoka. These 2 lines, plus the Kyushu Shinkansen down to Kagoshima, are seamlessly connected, and trains from one through run on the others. You won't see this with JR East, who run on different electrification and safety standards. There's 6 different kinds of Shinkansens running on the Tokaido and Sanyo Shinkansen lines, so to cover them as fast as possible, it's time for the montage music. Hajime! Okay, so now that we know each of the different trains, we can understand how to take the Shinkansen. After buying a ticket or using a rail pass, more on that later, and deciding if you want to make a seat reservation or not, you enter the station and look at the departures board. The board will be for a given direction. For example, here in Hiroshima, this sign on the left shows trains towards Hakata and Kagoshima. Here we can see the train type by name and color, number, destination, number of cars, and where the non-reserved seats are. And don't worry, it also switches to English. You can see how frequent the trains are. On the Tokaido Shinkansen during peak times, there will be a 16-car train going each direction as frequently as every 3 minutes. So be sure and get on the right numbered train. There's always a handy map showing you where each car will be, as well as signs on the platform for where to stand. There's 2 classes of service on most Shinkansens, ordinary second class and green, aka first class. The Kodomas only have second class, and JR East has a few trains with grand class. I've traveled in both ordinary and green, but especially after the price increases, I feel like ordinary is just fine for most people. The standard seats are usually in a 2-3, though reserved coaches on the Sakura and Mizuho are 2-2. Green class is also in a 2-2 and boasts slightly wider and more padded seats. They are also reservation only. But back in standard, there's tons of legroom, a coat hook, a large tray, and power outlets in the arms. There's free Wi-Fi on all trains, though it goes out in the frequent tunnels. There's no cafe car or food service, but Japanese train stations are legendary for their food offerings. You can and should bring your own food, and even alcohol bought in the station on board. Just please, go get some real fresh food, usually located in the basement food hall of the station, and not the prepackaged and stale ekiben. So yeah, don't be this guy, you'll thank me later. Riding the Shinkansen is always an experience. I don't know why, but it just feels smoother and faster than other high-speed trains in the world. The Sanyo Shinkansen operates up to 300 km per hour, 186 miles per hour, slightly faster than the Tokaido Shinkansen's 285 km per hour, and slower than the 320 km per hour of the Tohoku Shinkansen. The next station is displayed on the screen. Here this says Sugiwa, or next station, and then the kanji characters for the station, in this case Hakata. Or you could just wait for the English. Announcements are also made in both languages.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shinkansen. This is the Nozomi Super Express, bound for Hakata.
So that's riding the Shinkansen. It's awesome, but let's talk tickets. For years, the answer was simple: buy a JR Rail Pass. Only available to foreigners outside of Japan, it allowed unlimited access on any JR train except for the Nozomi and Mizuho for the price of a single round-trip Shinkansen ticket between Tokyo and Osaka. But there's 2 reasons why I don't recommend that anymore. First, the prices for ordinary tickets rose by 69%. That's not very nice. Green went up by 77% for a 7-day pass. That dramatically alters the value proposition. Are you really going to be taking enough expensive Shinkansens to justify the price? Next is the limitation on taking the Nozomi and Mizuho. They aren't included in the JR Rail Pass. After the price increase, you can now ride on these trains for an additional fee. Oh, but that's fine, you can just ride on the Sakura or Hikari trains, those are included. Well, yes, but do you notice anything? Nozomi, Nozomi, Nozomi. No, I'm not cherry picking here. Nozomi, 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 Mizuho. None of these trains are included in the JR Rail Pass. I've noticed over time more and more Nozomis relative to other services. Okay, there's a Kodoma, you can take that. But those are the slowest and most local Shinkansens that make every stop. They often hold at stations to allow other trains to pass. You don't want to be going any significant distance on the Kodoma. Ah, there's a Sakura. They and the Hikari do run, but only about every 30 minutes or so. You can plan your whole vacation around them. But I like to be spontaneous, and part of the reason you buy a rail pass over individual tickets is flexibility and spontaneity, right? So then what should you do? Well, if you're just going between Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, I think you just suck it up and buy the tickets individually. But the real secret are the regional JR passes. They aren't advertised as much, but can form the backbone of an amazing trip to Japan. Want to explore Osaka, Kyoto, Kobe, and Hiroshima? The Kansai Hiroshima Area Pass gives you unlimited access for 5 days on every JR train you could possibly want, including the Nozomi and Mizuho, for only 17,000 yen. Want more? On this trip, I had the Sentuchi Area Pass, including every train and everything from Fukuoka to Osaka and even parts of northern Shikoku, for 7 days and 22,000 yen. That's less than half of a full JR pass. Hell, you could buy 2 regional passes for 5 or 7 days and still be cheaper than a 7-day JR pass. The specific regional pass I got also came with extras like ferries or trolley cars in certain cities, which made it even more convenient. So, if you're planning a trip to Japan, I suggest the following. Just Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto? Buy the tickets individually. Literally anything else. Buy a ticket to the region if needed, and then string together 1 or more regional rail passes. The Tokaido Shinkansen from Tokyo to Osaka isn't included in any of the regional rail passes, but you could go via Kanazawa on the Osaka-Tokyo Hirakyu Arch Pass, and Kanazawa is definitely worth a detour. So that's the Shinkansen, and for most journeys within Japan, trains should be your go-to. But despite the Shinkansen, flying domestically within Japan has its place as well. So I'll see you next time for JAL's J-Class on the 737.